on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews, you can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get Wage Wars out before I left, which means that I will get done this week. I'm working on it right now, actually, or not right now, but in this time frame. But that I hope to have out maybe tomorrow, if I can get it done. And I'm also doing Archaeologist. I've had him on as an interviewee, I mean, and he just put out a new record Tuesday. So I'm gonna try to do both of those plus this one, and then whatever that happens this week, I'm gonna try to get some of those done as well. But make sure you keep on the lookout for all of those. It was kind of nice having vacation, but I'm back into the grind and everything of that nature. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Wise Man Fear's new record, The Lost City. So, if you're familiar with this channel, you know this name is no surprise to anyone. But we did an interview. I just did an album review with Paul, and we just did the Make Them Suffer record that came out about 2 weeks ago now. And so, obviously they passed me the record a little bit early, and unfortunately, again, I was on vacation, so I wasn't able to get it out prior to me leaving. But obviously, I wanted to get this out, and I want people to check out this record. So I'm ultimately doing an album review so that you guys can check it out. It's coming out actually today, as I'm recording it. So definitely make sure to go check it out. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on this, and leave them in the comments. So I'm going to go through each track again, give you my thoughts and opinions on it. I'm going to give an overall rating to the record, and maybe some pros and cons here and there as well. So we're going to get into the first track, which is called Cataclysm. This was one of the first singles that they released along with Blackroot Forest, initially, when they were kind of hinting at a new record. But I'm really loving the sort of cool ambient vocals from Tyler. Also, the inclusion of electronics were really cool as well. I know that they are, I wouldn't say electronic focused, but I would definitely say that they have a strong electronic element throughout their music. I like that Joe shows off a lot of his screaming range in this track as well. And I feel like just as a screamer from the past records, to me, I feel like each record he's definitely improved and gotten better and better as time went on. And I just feel like, to me, that he's definitely hit his, next level. And I'm excited to see the next record when, he definitely brings more of an A game to his screaming range. But I'm really enjoying the parts at around the 1 minute and 38-second mark to the 1 minute and 45-second mark. Joe's screams just remind me a lot of Landon Tours from The Plot in You. I mentioned it on the single review, but I feel like if you didn't watch that, this is kind of like, a recap. But I really enjoy the instrumentals as well, just the dark undertones to them. The layers just have this sort of Egyptian, sort of mysterious feel to them, similar to Born of Osiris. I know that they get compared very similarly to Born of Osiris, but you can definitely tell that sort of influence, along with, again, that sort of Egyptian flair. I know I made up a word, but it was really great. I definitely feel like it's a great opener track, and to me it feels like it gives a listener an idea of how the rest of the record will kind of pan out, in some regard, obviously within reason, but it definitely kind of picks out all the little subtleties of the Wise Man Fears. So we're gonna move into the next track number 2, which is Numa. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronunciate it. But this is a cool sort of interlude track on the record. It reminds me a lot of The Devil Wears Prada, Louder Than Thunder, and just has that sort of flavor to it. Maybe that's just my opinion, but that was kind of the initial thoughts and reactions that I got from that. Tyler's vocals add this sort of cool accenting piece to this sort of interlude track. I definitely feel like lyrically there isn't too much going on, but I feel like it adds a little bit of storyline, a little bit of musical storyline to the record, in my opinion. And Paul did a really great write up of all the lyrics and sort of like their meaning behind all the tracks. So hopefully they'll get to post that. If not, maybe I'll ask them to post it because I really think it's interesting. How they incorporate the sort of music that goes along with the lyrics and things of that nature. So we're gonna move into track number 3, which is Grey King. This one is absolutely one of my favorites, bringing back the sort of Egyptian, mysterious sort of vibes to this track. This also has a strong Born of Osiris vibe to it, as I mentioned previously. I'm super glad that they added Nathan's vocals. I feel like that was a strong suit on a few of the tracks off of their last record, Castle in the Clouds. Um, and to me, I feel like adding him back again, I feel like adds a different sort of layer to Tyler and just Nathan to play off of them, as well as Joe too. I feel like those three kind of voices together fit very well. Tyler has a really kind of high range, and Nathan has more of a mid to low range. So I feel like to me, maybe not all the time, but I would definitely like to see a little bit more of that come into play. There are some other tracks off this record that have that, but to me, I feel like it just needs a little bit more essence to me. I really do enjoy Nathan's vocals, so it's a real cool contrast in that regard. This one has a sort of ambient, sort of slower bridge that breaks up the track and offers a little bit of relief in this track as well, which I thought was always a strong suit of theirs as well. The pacing goes very well. The chorus definitely feels like the focal point of this track, in my opinion. The melody will absolutely get stuck in your head. I know I was probably singing it for like weeks on end. No, like no joke. I was really honestly just hooked to the melody of this track, and I like how it kind of leads into the next track, which we'll be talking about, which is Blackroot Forest. So, like I mentioned previously, track number 4 is Blackroot Forest. This is the first single that they released. It is one of my favorites as well. I like that is a continuation of Grey King, and how they kind of, you know, intertwine storylines and just sonically how it intertwines with each other. I think that's always a great sign of great writing, in my opinion, and just song structure. Joe definitely continues expanding his vocal range. He adds some more gutturals, and just some really interesting screams that I feel like, he couldn't have pulled off on the last record, which is really great to see. Just, how much he's evolved over the last record. And it just really shows in this track and in a lot of these other tracks that we'll be getting into. The chorus definitely has this catchiness to it, in my opinion. Guitar wise, I would say is probably the weakest point in this track. There really isn't a lot going on with that. And, if you listen to the single, there isn't like too much going on, but I do appreciate it. The bass solo, in the layers in the bridge part just adds this sort of break and just breaks up the track in a really unique way as well. To me, I still love the track a lot. I still hold it in high regards, but I feel like guitar wise, this one was probably lacking a little bit. So I'd probably put it in like the favorites, maybe like on the lower tier, but it's definitely still a great song that I feel like you should check out. So we're going to move into track number 5, which is What Time Brings. This track definitely focuses more on Tyler's vocals. The chorus has a similar melody to Born to Lose by Devil Wears Prada as well. You can tell that they're probably a huge influence on this band in particular. I'd say this track is probably the most straightforward off the entire record. Most of you have probably already heard of it if you, did check out the album already. The singles already and the album as well, but yeah, this one definitely feels the most straightforward, and just the addition of Nathan's vocals again was a nice little bonus to this track. like I mentioned previously, I feel like it's really a strong suit throughout this entire record to have Nathan's vocals on it. So to me, I feel like this is another positive. But to me, the track just lacked this sort of just it just lacks something in my opinion. It wasn't a bad track, but it wasn't like a really exceptional track in my opinion. Maybe if it had some like other elements that would have made it a little bit more unique. I do like the melodies and the song structure as well, but to me, it just lacked that sort of punch to it. And maybe that's just me. But to it just a lot of the other tracks, I feel like you'll get what I mean. In terms of uniqueness, I feel like this one is kind of again the most straightforward, but still a great track nonetheless. So we're gonna move into track number 6, which is Forges of Ire. I would say this one is probably up there with the more interesting tracks off the record. Um, it has this sporadic, chaotic sort of appeal to it, and it just sounds completely different from what you know and love about the Wise Man Fears, but in the best way possible. I like that they kind of changed it up. They kind of did something different that's out of their comfort zone, that's not typical to them, and ultimately expanding into different territories. The guitars definitely had this sort of dissonance, and just that breakdown is just really heavy and gnarly. There's a few breakdowns throughout this track that have that sort of just gut wrenching sort of feeling to it. I definitely feel like this is a track that most people will not be expecting on the record, but it's a good surprise. I would absolutely say that a lot of people might enjoy this one, but to me, it was just kind of out of left field, which is always a great surprise. I would definitely say it's the most experimental track off the record, in my opinion, and it is definitely one of the black sheep tracks off the record. This has pretty much all screams from Joe, and I don't think there's any screams from Tyler whatsoever. But I would say that this one is actually totally Joe on his A game, in my opinion, and I don't know whether I like it or not, and I've been listening to this album probably for like 2 weeks or more, and I still kind of, when I get to it, I'm not really sure. I think it's great. I definitely enjoy it. But to me, I still don't know if whether or not I'll be like, this is one of the best tracks that they've written, or one of the better tracks that they've written. I definitely think it's an interesting move, brilliant in its own right. It has a shock value that a lot of people will not expect, like I mentioned, and it's just a good way to switch up the tracks off the record. It makes it interesting, it makes it fun, and I definitely feel like they achieved what they were going for in this regard by doing something completely different. So we're gonna move it into track number 7, which is The Deepest Dark. This one is one of my favorites. I'm loving the sort of ambient reverbiness of Tyler's vocals. The guitars definitely have this sort of, similar sounding style with ambience and sort of slower parts to it. I like that Joe accents Tyler's cleans with screams throughout parts on the track in particular, and I feel like there's a great balance between melodic and heavy parts. I feel like they have done that very well, and this obviously is a really good representation of that, in my opinion. The breakdown at around the 2 minutes and 20-second mark is a really cool switch up, and just that long scream from Joe absolutely just put the nail in the coffin, in my opinion. And that breakdown just had this super sort of techie feel to it, in my opinion. And I would definitely say that this one is one of the stronger, one of my favorite tracks as well off the record. It just, again, got really great appeal to it. It starts off really soft, and then it kind of end and finish off really strong, in my opinion. And it's just a really solid track all around, and I feel like it accents them in the best way possible. So we're gonna move into track number 8, which is Bloodlust. This one is also a favorite of mine. Easily, let me zoom in for a second. Easily the heaviest track off the record. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you go and listen to it, you can go listen to it because it'll be out now. It is definitely the heaviest track, and probably the heaviest track that they've ever written, in my opinion. It just got this really great just grittiness to it. I wouldn't say it's super technical, but it definitely has that brutalness that just takes it over the edge. I like that Joe again is experimenting with his screaming range. I would say that again he keeps getting better with each release, and just some of the gutturals on this track were absolutely monstrous. And it's just another curveball that I guess that I would say that most people won't be expecting. It's really, really interesting, and just the sort of slow, drawn out guitar parts just make this track just gut wrenching and just really, really just powerful. And I really appreciate that. It's an interesting sort of juxtaposition between Deepest Dark, which is more melodic and still heavy. This one is just straightforward in your face, kind of just almost fit for a King S style track, and I really enjoy that. I just enjoy the straightforwardness of it and just the heaviness of it as well. So we're gonna move into track number 9, which is Codex. This is another favorite of mine. This song has kind of a mix between Bless the Fall and Born of Osiris to me at least, and it really kind of has this great extra layers throughout the track that just make this track over the top, in my opinion. Liking the leads in the chorus as well. I wish that they would have been turned up just a smidge. They fell a little bit back in the mix, in my opinion. And just, I'm loving the Egyptian vibes. I've always enjoyed that about this band, and just the usage of electronics. I feel like they do it very well, and they do it a justice. In my opinion, the structure and the flow just really captivates me, and I hope it captivates a lot of you as well. And just the notes that Tyler hits on this track, I would also say that he has gotten much better at singing as well, since the last record, and I feel like he's learned to reserve himself, but also he can still belt out those notes. So to me, I feel like this is his best work so far, and I'm excited to see the future of both of them as vocalists. Both Joe and Tyler, they're really great vocalists and just have really great chemistry together as well too. So we're gonna move into track number 10, which is Dreamscape. This one is another favorite of mine. Definitely more melodic and more ambient as well. Very akin to the Deepest Dark, in my opinion. The inclusion of piano was a really good choice as well. The back and forth vocally of Tyler and Nathan, again, was a really strong point on this track as well. I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse, but I feel like those two just mesh very well together, and I hope to see more of that maybe in the future. Their voice just contrasts very well, and you can hear the kind of stuff that you would hear from Tyler, and you can also hear the stuff that you would hear from Nathan, and they just mesh very well. And then this track just has great atmosphere to kind of round out the track as well. And to me, again, another really strong track from these guys, and amongst my favorite as well. So we're gonna move it into the final track, track number 11, the title track, "The Lost City." This one is one of my favorites. Again, I had plenty of favorites off this record. Loving the guitar riff. It has this bouncy, sort of groovy vibe to it. I really feel like this track highlights the best of everyone in the band, from Paul to Cody to Thomas, to Tyler to Joe to Nathan. I feel like this is an all-encompassing track, and if I would recommend one track to you, it'd probably be this one. If you're expecting like this sort of typical Wise Man Fears track, to me, this is a quintessential track in my opinion, and it just, again, it meshes everybody and very well, and it also just highlights everybody the best as well too. The structure and the flow of the track rivals most of what they put out to date, in my opinion. I feel like they have been their strongest on this record so far, and just the way that Joe and Tyler just have that back and forth. They just have really great chemistry, like I mentioned previously. But more specifically in this track, I feel like they highlight the best of each other, and that's really awesome. I like that Nathan's vocals also make an appearance towards the end of this track as well. And I think it's an awesome closer track. It's definitely encompasses what the Wise Man Fear sound is and what you can expect throughout this record. I feel like it's a really great, just all-encompassing track. It's got heavy moments, it's got melodic moments, it's got, great moments from Joe, it's got great moments from Tyler. Nathan's vocals show up as well. So to me, it's just an all-encompassing track, and I really enjoyed it. So my pros and cons on this record, I would say that pros, they really did a lot of stuff that was different. I think, to me, this is their most diverse record to date, and also their best record to date, in my opinion. They really kind of honed in on the last record and took what a lot of people loved off of that record and kind of expounded upon those sorts of tracks, but also did really interesting tracks like The Forges of Ire, Bloodlust, even like Grey King, even though that kind of plays into what they know and, what they know and love. Tracks like Forges of Ire, The Deepest Dark, Bloodlust have that sort of interesting, flair to it, and can either be technical or just be, straightforward heavy. So, to me, diversity is absolutely key on this record, and they really nailed it. Some cons, I really, honestly and truly don't have any cons. I feel like, to me, the only slip up, in my opinion, was What Time Brings, and I still really enjoy that track. It just lacks that sort of essence that, a lot of these other tracks have and, represent. In my opinion, I really enjoyed the melodies. I enjoyed a lot of the stuff on the track, but to me, that one's probably one of the more weaker tracks off the record, in my opinion. But that's really, honestly, the only bad things that I can say about it. Maybe just some like mixing things, like, things can be pulled forward a little bit more. Maybe some of the lead parts, like I mentioned in, I believe it was Codex, they just felt like they were lacking a little bit. So that's the only really issues that I have with the record, and I think it's definitely one of my favorite metalcore releases this year, especially from an unsigned band. I feel like they are just absolutely killing it, and I'm excited to see, what they do next. So my overall rating for The Wise Man Fears The Lost City, I'm going to be giving it a 9.3 out of 10. I highly recommend this record. If you are a fan of like Bless the Fall, I was gonna say The Wise Man Fears, Bless the Fall, Born of Osiris, even like Fit for a King. I feel like they kind of encompass those sorts of things, but also have really great post-hardcore elements as well. So I would implore you to go check this band out, if you haven't already, and I would also recommend for you guys to go pick it up. The pre-orders, I believe, end today, so definitely, if you are interested in the merch and just the sort of things that go along with it, I would definitely be picking that up if you can afford it, obviously. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this record. Obviously, it's out today, so go check it out if you haven't. If not, it's on iTunes, Spotify, all the sort of regular run-of-the-mill things that you can expect from that. Thanks again to The Wise Man Fears. You guys always look out for me, and, hopefully you guys find this, informative, and, it definitely means a lot that you guys support me and back me really hard. So I want to do the same to you guys. So thank you guys for watching this review. If you enjoy what you see, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that thumbs up as well. Again, we got a ton of things in the works, and we're always working. So definitely check back with the channel. I hope to be getting out the Wage War album review, as well as Archaeologist. Probably Archaeologist will be out sooner than the Wage War, but the Wage War is definitely being worked on as well. So stay tuned with the channel, and my name is Brandon, and we hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps out our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com, and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.